Thank you, Sags. And so, to the night of nights for Brentford. This, a highlight in a 131-year history that has brought an isolated spell in the top flight out with the memory of the vast majority of us and the occasional cup quarter-final. But it was only when long-time benefactor Matthew Benham took complete control that the journey to this point really began. Basic footballing economics demanded a different approach. As Dean Smith once said during his tenure, we can't outspend them, we've got to outthink them. And the heavy reliance on the numerical side of the game came to the fore. But statistical analysis in isolation is only going to get you so far, and it will only even get you that far if it's exceptionally good. The skill has been the marriage of data, coaching and man management. And it's that has propelled a club who've had an average gate of 12,000 to a playoff final and now a place in the last four of a major cup competition for the very first time. Promotion remains the ultimate goal, of course, and many will argue it should have been achieved before their Wembley heartache last season. But after cashing in on the two big hitters from that team, this current vintage have more than earned their crack at playing under the arch again. 4 Premier League scabs down, 1 to go. Pressure off. It is Tottenham that carry the weight of expectation. 13 years since their last piece of silverware, Jose Mourinho charged with succeeding where the previous 4 managers have failed, and nobody is more aware of the benefits this competition can bring, having equalled Brian Clough and Sir Alex Ferguson by winning it 4 times. Those previous accolades have been the precursor to more success, the springboard to league glory in both of his spells at Chelsea, and a European silverware with Manchester United, but they one step at a time. Spurs line up with Lloris in goal, Aurier, Sanchez, Darren Reguilon, Sissoko and Højbjerg, Lucas Moura and Ndombele and Son, and Kane. Brentford, David Raya in goal, Dalsgaard, Pinnock, Sorensen and Henry, De Silva, Jan Elton Jensen, and Burmo, Tony and Canos. Referee tonight is Mike Dean. Brentford in their change kit of dark grey, Spurs in their white and dark blue, and the blow of Mike Dean's whistle indicates the moment for both sets of players to take the knee. It is a London derby with a difference. Tottenham and Brentford lock horns for the first time in 20 years. The Bees striving to overcome a disparity in resources and history to record arguably their biggest win of the lot. And they're kicking from left to right in this first half. Spurs defending the south stand, and they're in early possession with Lucas Moura. Here on Talk Sports, a good, strong, driving run through the midfield, and Moura's upended. First free kick of the game goes Tottenham's way in midfield for a hefty challenge by De Silva. Free kick taken quickly out to Reguilon on the Tottenham left, back from him to Eric Dyer, still inside the first minute at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And the former Republic of Ireland international, 3-time winner in this competition, Andy Townsend, is alongside me.
Jim, really a pleasure to be here tonight. Really looking forward to this game. I'm fascinated by the Brentford story. I can't deny that. I think it's amazing what they've achieved already. Have they got the courage in their game tonight to go out, to come here in this incredible new stadium and put on a real performance and go away looking forward to a Wembley final? Can they really do that? Or are they going to come up a little bit short against all these glittering players, star players that are in front of them tonight?
And it is Son in possession, finding Reguilon left-hand side of the Brentford penalty area, and he's won the first corner of the night off Brentford's Henrik Dalsgaard, Danish international, who provides the experience in this Bees team. And the first corner of the night will be taken on the Tottenham left-hand side by Son, who scored his 100th Spurs goal. Now the 150th goal of his career could come tonight. He spotted the ball down for this corner, which will be taken on the Tottenham left. He raises his left arm above his head. It's a right-footed in-swing with real pace, but a decent defensive header gets it out of harm's way. As far as Ndombele, who's forced Aurier back inside his own half, it was a poor pass, but he can still, under little pressure, play the ball the direction he's facing and guide it back for Hugo Lloris away to our right-hand side. This is the first of the two semi-finals, the second one tomorrow. Manchester United against Manchester City. Build-up starts at 7. Live from Old Trafford, Trevor Sinclair alongside Sam Matterface, Mark Saggers in the chair for that one here on TalkSport in 24 hours' time. Who will they be playing? We'll find out in the next couple of hours or so. There is extra time if necessary tonight. It will be played to a conclusion this evening, but extra time and penalties to separate the two teams if necessary. Haven't had extra time in this competition so far this season. Here's Mbeumo. Ball in from him was a good one. Davison Sanchez's header away was assured. Rico Henry, the former Walsall defender, who certainly was on the Spurs radar at one stage earlier in his career, plays the ball in from the left-hand side. That one easily cleared by Sanchez. And a bounce once over the head of Henry and go out for a throw that'll be taken on the Brentford left-hand side. 3 gone, 0-0.
Yeah, nice football there from Brentford. De Silva, clever ball inside Reguilon, which had Mbeumo sprinting towards the byline, wrapped his foot around that first time, as you would expect. Good intent early on from Brentford, who again playing in Tottenham territory and showing that they're happy to get the ball down and mix it with the best.
Ivan Toney dropping deep and linking up in the midfield with Dalsgaard, who will work it down towards Bryan Mbeumo. Still only 21, the Frenchman, who impressed excessively last season as part of that famous BMW strike force. The other two have gone. Benrahma to West Ham, Watkins to Aston Villa. Now a mistake at the back by Mads Bech Sorensen, who played the ball forward straight into Lucas Moura, but he got a second bite of the cherry and got it away. Henry playing it forward over the halfway line here for Brentford. 0-0 with 4 gone on TalkSport as the ball is played down the left-hand touchline by the Bees winger Canos. And one back by Aurier. Højbjerg back to him, and then as Aurier tried to play it back for Pierre Højbjerg again in the midfield, he lost it. De Silva driving forward inside the box, and then Sanchez clears it. It hits De Silva, but ricochets innocuously through to Hugo Lloris away to our right-hand side.
Yeah, just a bit sloppy there from Serge Aurier, as we know, has a tendency to just be a little bit casual sometimes, unnecessarily, and not under any real pressure there. Just rolled the ball inside to Højbjerg, nowhere near him.
Now Janelt will play the ball forward, and Mbeumo can't get that into his stride on the edge of the penalty area, but they haven't come here just to sit back and soak it up. Far from it.
Hey, the Brentford back four are on the halfway line, Jim. That's where they've been for the last 4 minutes since the game started, effectively. Spurs in possession now, and you can see Brentford's 4-3-3 very blatantly, very clearly, quite narrow in midfield. 2 good wide players who want to get wide and deliver the ball in the box to Ivan Toney. So I don't think there's anything hidden in this Brentford side. Their success is down to an incredible amount of hard work, good organisation and real belief in what they do.
Eric Dyer just plays the ball back for Tanguy Ndombele, who turns in the midfield and finds Reguilon. Reguilon plays it forward and it comes off Mbeumo and goes out of play for a throw. You talk about the narrow 4-3-3, but Reguilon then, who's just adjusting his bootlaces on his left boot before he takes this throw. He made a barnstorming run forward down the left-hand side, and he wasn't found, and Mbeumo didn't think about tracking him back, and that gives the right-back Dalsgaard something to think about when he's got Son playing down the channel. So that's something that Brentford have got to try and work out. Yep,
they have. There's always a time for a wide man to track a run, particularly of a modern-day fullback, and then, of course, you don't want to be on top of your own fullback defending all the time, so you just got to get that balance right. It's a feel, that, Jim. You sometimes sense when there's a time that you need to track back and follow a run, as opposed to maybe stay the other side and cheat a little bit.
But of course, by doing that, you have the advantage if there's a turnover of possession, and Mbeumo could be in. Play goes on with Lucas Moura on the inside right channel here for Spurs, bringing it forward. 6 gone, 0-0 on TalkSport, and it's back towards the edge of the area. Played round the corner by Højbjerg, but easily mopped up by De Silva. And De Silva just trying to draw the challenge of Lucas Moura before laying it out to Henry. A little 1-2 between Henry and Janssen, and then back it comes for Jensen just on the edge of the penalty area, and he chips one down to Dalsgaard to Pinnock, who chops his shoulder and flicks it onto his left foot to get it away from Son, and then it's driven forward, and Toney tries to flick it on for the runner Canos, but Aurier can pick up possession again for Spurs. They've certainly dominated possession in the early stages, Tottenham, as Kane brings it forward towards the edge of the penalty area. He can't find a way through. Reguilon will be able to pick up the seconds on the edge of the box. It looked as though he'd overrun it slightly. He slid in and made something of it to his credit, but Dalsgaard did enough, and the ball ends up back in the hands of goalkeeper David Raya. And as it's played out to Silva's foul, and it's a free kick to Brentford, about 15 yards outside their penalty area. 0-0.
You can see the confidence that they have, Brentford, where, as I mentioned earlier, after 4 or 5 minutes we saw the back four on the halfway line. We're approaching 8 minutes down, the ball with the goalkeeper, and he throws it out to De Silva, who sidesteps Højbjerg, and the Tottenham man having to foul him to stop him from running forward with the ball. So, you know, they're happy to go face to face with their opposite number, and if they need to drop the shoulder and go past them, they're brave enough to do it.
Those are the thoughts of Andy Townsend alongside me, Jim Proudfoot. Mark Saggers in the chair tonight. Salah Madain, stadium producer. We've played 8 minutes here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is 0-0. These two playing for the right to play one of the Manchester clubs in the final, which takes place in the 4th week of April, having been put back a couple of months. Free kick now to Brentford is 12 yards inside Tottenham territory, and it's Janelt who stands over it, but Jensen takes the responsibility, flights it in towards the left-hand side of the area. Tony was waiting. Overhead kick, spectacular and effective from Ndombele, and he got it well clear. David Raya comes out, sweeping up, and he's almost on the edge of the centre circle as he just plays it for Jensen. Jensen for a defence-splitting ball. It's a magnificent attempt to find Canos, who nearly got there. It was his fizzed forward along the ground some 60 yards. Canos nearly got there, but only nearly.
Tell you what, Spurs are being rushed into making unforced errors at the moment. Brentford have started well. I think Canos there, Jim, that pass from midfield that took him to the byline, I wonder whether he could have wrapped his left foot round it, maybe taken a bit of a chance, but Thomas Frank has been out there in his technical area. He's just gone back to his pad and his pen, and he's writing a few bits down that he'll remind a few of his players around at half-time, but certainly he'll be very pleased with a confident start with which Brentford have approached this game.
His confidence born of a cup run which has seen them take 4 Premier League scalps so far. They've beaten Southampton, and it was Southampton's first team as well. 2-0 at St Mary's, then got past West Brom on penalties, 3-0 against Fulham, revenge for the playoff final, and then quarter-final success against Newcastle United just before Christmas. And they're unbeaten, if you stick that with a decent league run together, in 16 games now. It's a really good run that they've had. Last time they lost at Stoke back in late October, and since then they've won 9 and drawn 7. Scored more than twice as many as they've conceded in that run, and they're playing with that confidence tonight. You can see that they're very well drilled, and they're in possession now, just chasing, trying to put the pressure on, but Laurier's got it back and gets it away from Canos and goes back for Davison Sanchez. And here's Eric Dyer for Spurs bringing it forward. 10 goalless minutes behind us on TalkSport as Dyer looks long, and David Raya comes out, claims it. There a couple of yards ahead of Son, just to catch it on the edge of the penalty area, and then Dalsgaard clears it straight into Ndombele and out of play for a Brentford throw.
Yeah, Mark Sags spoke to us earlier about the difference when you're playing against the best teams, and I think already we've seen Spurs start okay, not particularly brilliantly, but in any given moment, one pass maybe from Dyer, a through ball from Ndombele to find Kane or Son, bang, it's in the back of the net. That's kind of the way the best teams operate. So despite the nice, confident manner with which Brentford have approached this game, stay focused at all times. Don't turn your back on anything. You have to concentrate. You have to make sure that you're backing each other up. Nobody drops their guard. Nobody turns their back, because if you do, you'll concede a goal.
Tottenham with a neat interplay down their left-hand side involving Dyer and Reguilon and Ndombele, and then it's worked out towards the right, but not quite at the right angle. Picked up though by Højbjerg, who just had to drop deep to get on the end of that. He has been part of a winning League Cup semi-final team in the past in his Southampton days, although he didn't feature in the final, which they lost to Manchester United 4 seasons ago. Here's Kane, who has played in the final in the past. Ball inside the penalty area from him, and it's half cleared straight back out to Harry Kane, who actually scored the winner in the first leg of the semi-final against Chelsea when Spurs were last in the last 4. Reguilon the ball in, and it's a brilliant header. Delicious cross, and it's attacked by Sissoko to give Tottenham the lead. One potent ball inside the penalty area, and all of Brentford's neat possession football comes to nothing. That was the killer instinct of Premier League quality, and Spurs lead Brentford 1-0.
That is exactly what I was talking about just a few seconds ago, because there you had Reguilon, the left back, picking the ball up in an area where he's got 10, 15, 20 yards to take a touch, to measure across, to drop it literally right on the money, on a sixpence, onto Moussa Sissoko's head, who just steers that past Raya into the top corner of the goal. He's totally unmarked, right in the middle of the 6-yard box. He's standing there saying, can you put it on my head from distance? Reguilon says, how about this? Is this any good? Bang! Drops it right on a plate, and Tottenham have a lead out of nothing.
Only his 5th goal in Tottenham colours in more than 180 games for the club. Well, that's good timing. It was an excellent run that just hadn't been picked up from deep in the midfield, but the cross was delicious.
Perfect.
Spurs lead 1-0. And now a test of Brentford's mettle and resolve. Good ball forward from them. Tony trying to play to De Silva to his right-hand side. Spurs can bring it away. Reguilon overran it, but coming back to cover was Canos, who's fouled him. And it's a free kick which will be taken by Tottenham on halfway, and a yellow card is shown by referee Mike Dean. Sergi Canos, the player that has gone in the book.
Big 10 minutes now, I think, certainly for both teams. For Spurs, you've just got the lead. Can you now go and add to that? Can you seriously take advantage of this tie this evening by going and adding to your tally? And for Brentford, yep, so now they've had a taste of it. They've enjoyed lots of possession in the opening moments of that game. Just seeing the manager, Thomas Frank, with a look on his face of frustration, as if to say, we've started well, we slept for a second, and we've got punished. Now they've got to focus.
And here's Harry Kane working forward towards Lucas Moore. Son! Good save! Diving away to his left-hand side by David Raya. Chipped back in by Aurier, but not at the right angle. It ends up on the roof of the net, but could have been 2 in 2 minutes.
Could have been. Really could have been. Nice finish. A nice attempted finish from Son. Strike from the edge of the box. Didn't go for massive amounts of power, just went for the accuracy. The ball was there, rolled back to him. It's a comfortable save, it has to be said, for Raya, but good football from Spurs, good intent.
Could have been his 150th career goal, but a decent save from David Raya, diving away to his left-hand side. Clearly imperative as far as Brentford are concerned that they hang in there and don't concede a second. Now the ball has gone out of play for a throw, which will be taken on the Brentford right. A little bit of frustration on the Tottenham bench. Jose Mourinho, his coaching staff, thought it should have gone the other way. Ball played round the corner towards De Silva. The Spurs win it back. Midway inside their own half, Højbjerg going back for Dyer on the edge of the box, and then play forward by Reguilon into the feet of Son, and then Dombele turns it round the corner, but Pinnock, the big centre-half, can find his goalkeeper, and David Raya takes a touch and flights it out towards the left-hand touchline for Rico Henry. Henry has only missed 1 league game since the start of last season. Was sent off, a red card that was rescinded in the first leg of the playoff semi-final against Swansea, the back end of the last campaign, but a real consistent performer at left back, and he's on his bike here making his run forward, and he's got goal side of Aurier, and the pass is a good one to find him, and then he plays in Tony, who just couldn't take it in his stride. Had he got a better contact with his left foot there, he was flicking it past Eric Dyer and would have been into a goal scoring position. That was close. As it was, Spurs could mop up, but only get it towards halfway, where it's played back forward by Canos to De Silva. Now Jay De Silva towards the edge of the penalty area. Down towards the right-hand side from Mbermo. Curling effort from him. Just didn't have the strength to guide it over the head of Lloris into the top left-hand corner. You can see what he was trying to do. Andy, you and I right behind that, and he got the angle right, but just not quite the elevation.
Absolutely, he did. He had the right idea there. Mbermo is down the right side, stepped inside on his left foot. He's looking for Ivan Toney. Lovely curling cross, good flight on it, but just a little bit too close to Hugo Lloris. But again, since the goal, good reaction from Brentford. Important how you react, important that you get back on the ball and you start asking a few questions, and they've done exactly that.
Son just went down under a challenge from Dalsgaard. and didn't pick himself up straight away. He's okay now. Looked as though he took a heavy one on the ankle. Here is Josh De Silva in the midfield, a former Arsenal trainee. He did make a handful of appearances in the League Cup for the Gunners, and now linked with a move to West Ham. That's a story that has been doing the rounds over the last 48 hours or so. I think it would take big money to prize him away right now in this transfer window. Not generally the Brentford way to do the business mid-season. De Silva couldn't get on the end of a through ball that was intended for him. Spurs able to win it back, and Son will be able to drive forward here. Good strong running from Son towards the edge of the area, but Henry's got plenty of pace, and he came back, got goal side and covered, and Brentford will be able to knock it away. Spurs have a play down inside the centre circle, and the Tottenham players are asking for the ball to be put out of play. Spurs didn't do that when they broke forward themselves, but Mike Dean takes matters into his own hands, and he's going to produce a yellow card for the challenge, which has put the Tottenham man on the deck.
It's Ndombele. It's Ndombele that's down injured, and he's looks like he's in some discomfort. As you say, I'm not sure who Mike Dean has just brandished that yellow card to there, Jim, but he's showing it as we speak right now. But Ndombele yet to pick himself up off the floor. He felt the full force of that one, and he had his back to play, and it was more of a clip round the ankles. It didn't look, I'm being honest, the worst challenge. It wasn't like it was a full-blooded 50-50 where players are going head-to-head, face-to-face at each other. It was more of a trip and a clip. It's Janelt, actually, it was, that gets that yellow card and made that challenge. So he's got to be a little careful now.
Yeah, that's his sixth caution of the season. He's the most booked of Brentford's players. He is the one that sits deep in the midfield three. Has had his chance, really this season because of the injury to Christian Norgard, who hasn't played in the league since October the 4th. But Janelt has done well. He's the latest one that they identified. They brought him in from German football. Only paid £500,000 for him. They reckon he's worth 5 times that already after only 20-odd games for the club. But he is in the book now. His yellow card shown just a few moments ago. And Ndombele back on his feet, and he's making his way very gingerly over towards this near touchline. The second semi-final live on TalkSport tomorrow as Manchester United take on Manchester City, and then we're into FA Cup action starting on Friday with Sam and Dean Ashton and Villa Park for Villa against Liverpool. Build-up starts at 7 o'clock Friday night. Saturday we've got Everton Rotherham, Stoke Leicester, QPR Fulham, Arsenal Newcastle, and Manchester United Watford. 5 live games for you on the TalkSport network on Saturday from the FA Cup. In the League Cup tonight, we're 20 minutes into the first semi-final, and Spurs lead after that Sissoko header on 12 minutes by a golden hill.
Yeah, and a good goal it was too. Lovely bit of quality from Reguilon, and a good run from Moussa Sissoko, getting himself right into the thick of things. And he's unmarked, 7 yards out, right in the middle of the goal, and he steers a header past Raya and gives Tottenham the lead. Tanguy Ndombele back on his feet, as you say, wasn't moving too well a few moments ago. Glad to say, Jim, I'm just watching him now. Yeah, he's still not 100% happy. I've been really impressed with him recently. He's kind of transformed his Tottenham fortunes. He's played very well at times when I've watched him this season, and again in that position in midfield where he gets the chance to break and link up with Kane and Son, he does that particularly well, so hopefully he'll be able to continue.
Yeah, the player signed for a club record £54 million, and it's fair to say, be the first to admit that his Tottenham career was a bit of a slow burner, but he's shown his worth recently. The ball headed back now to David Raya by Brentford, and as Andy says, it was a great quick throw, wasn't it? Very accurate and flat through to the centre of midfield. Jensen, as he worked it out towards the the Brentford right, from Burmo, just couldn't quite get the pass right. He goes out of play for a throw that will be taken by Reguilon.
What they do need to try and do, Brentford, they've all had plenty of the ball apart from one man, apart from Ivan Toney. He's the one player so far that hasn't really seen an awful lot of it. Now, I'm not expecting him to get a glut full of chances. It's not going to be that sort of night, but they've got to try and get him involved a little more than they have up to now in this opening 21 minutes.
And of course it goes without saying that the way that Tottenham play, such a good counter-attacking side. First goal often so important in their games, because now that's one box ticked in the game plan. They can sit back. Not too many signs that they are actively sitting back at the moment, and they've got a free kick to defend here, which they do with a very high line, 8 yards outside the penalty area, and Burmo runs away from it. It's flighted in by Jensen, very deep towards Pinnock, but he's headed it wide. Difficult chance, maybe jumped a little bit too early. He was on his way down by the time the ball got to him, but with Tottenham bodies all around him, all he could do was steer it wide. 22 gone, midway through the first half on TalkSport, with Tottenham leading Brentford 1-0.
Yeah, and I think where Brentford will be pleased is that up to now we've seen little bits of Harry Kane dropping off the front line and picking the ball up. Once or twice he's done that, and he's obviously very, very adept at picking his head up and finding teammates in very dangerous areas, but he hasn't had too many opportunities to really get involved in the thick of things so far. I think up to now the Brentford game plan about denying space in those areas, I think that's worked quite well.
David Raya plays out to Henry. It was a rare mistake from him as he tried to control it and lay it off. And it flicked off one foot onto the other and straight out of play for a throw, which will be taken over on the Tottenham right-hand side. They've only played 2 games so far in the competition, Spurs. They got byes in rounds 1 and 2, and then a walkover against Lake Norient in round 3. Made it through against Chelsea on penalties here before that win on a Baltic night at Stoke just before Christmas. 3-1 victory with Gareth Bale getting them on their way that day. Bale not involved in the 20 tonight. And incidentally, just a line about the substitutions. As I mentioned, it is 20, 9 on the bench, and both sides can make 5 changes, but only in 3 separate intervals. Brentford have got possession, and they have it with Jensen in midfield, who works it out to his left-hand side for Henry. Good ball from him down the line to Mbeumo, who'd swap flanks for a moment, and he's won Brentford's first corner of the night, Andy.
Yeah, that's a good run from Mbeumo. He's pretty much been plying his trade so far, religiously down the right side and checking inside on his left foot, and he just switched flanks there just for a moment, and just gave Spurs something to consider, and Brentford have a corner.
Has only scored in one of his last 20 games, Brian Mbeumo, which was when he got a couple against Reading recently. He's gone out to take this corner, and he's got 5 to aim at. Janelt stands right in front of the goalkeeper. The other 4 will make runs from deeper. Pinnock the deepest of the lot, but Lloris got past his mark and was able to come out and claim it, and then he's whacked it forward upfield very quickly. Henry back on sentry duty for Brentford, able to nudge it away from Son, who stayed upfield with him, and if they got it over the top of the Brentford full-back, then Son could have been in. Yeah,
Hugo Lloris did very well there, actually. As that corner was flighted in, he was out really quick. 2 good hands on it, immediately looked up and out of his hands tried to find Son, but Rico Henry has already shown that he's particularly quick. He looks very, very athletic, the Brentford left back, and he was every inch the match of Son there.
Here's Mbeumo back on the left-hand side for a moment, playing it forward into a more central position. He's found Canos. Canos will chip it into space, and that space is occupied first by De Silva, and De Silva will come in off the right-hand touchline for Brentford. Little out from him. Dalsgaard, deflection on the ball in. That spun it up in the air and meant that Lloris could come out and claim it comfortably off the head of Toney.
That was a good chance actually for Dalsgaard there to clip something in towards Ivan Toney, to give him something to attack. It's a little bit of shame that fizzled out into nothing there. De Silva had done well down the right side, dropped it back to the full-back, but the cross was an unconvincing one that Hugo Lloris was able to deal with very comfortably.
Brentford bidding tonight have become the first non-Premier League side to reach the League Cup final since 4th Division Bradford City did so back in 2013. I say 4th Division, shows my age. League 2 Bradford City, who were beaten by Swansea 8 years ago. Everything's 4th Division to me. As a supporter of a side who's desperate to get back into Division 4. The ball out of play for a throw will be taken by Dalsgaard. Bradford beat Villa in the 2-legged semi-final to get through to that final, but were well beaten by Swansea in the final. And Bradford have also played a part in Jose Mourinho's past in cup competitions. He's got an outstanding record at home to lower division sides in the FA Cup and the League Cup. 15 wins out of 17, but one of the exceptions being an FA Cup defeat to John Stead in Bradford City a few years ago when he was the Chelsea boss. Ball's out on the Tottenham right-hand side with Lucas Moura.
They were good at upsetting a few, Jim, when they Bradford, for a few years, weren't they?
Well, after that, I then saw them, I don't know whether it was the next round or maybe the 5th round, but they beat Sunderland at home as well at Valley Parade, and they were outstanding that day. Yeah, they had a very good team for a while, one that was more than capable of going toe-to-toe with any opposition and giving them a scare or two. Here's Eric Dyer, Brentford hoping to do exactly that, looking for a 5th Premier League scalp in this season's competition, but trailing 1-0 at the moment, in possession, deep in the left-back position with Henry, who's just given a little shove by Lucas Moura, and it goes over the line and out of play. But it won't be a throw, it will be a free kick. The assistant referee on the far touchline, Dan Rogan, flagging, and it's a free kick which will be taken by the tall Danish centre-half, Mansbæk Sorensen. In fact, he's going to leave it for his yellow-clad goalkeeper, David Raya, to take. 28 minutes in, Tottenham 1, Brentford 0. Brentford certainly haven't folded since that Moussa Sissoko goal on 12 minutes. They've probably had more possession since the goal than they did in the 12 minutes leading up to it, but haven't yet forced Lloris into a save.
No, they haven't been able to really find the cutting edge so far, but I'm sure on the bench the Brentford staff will be thinking, you know what, we started the game quite nicely, we're competing, we're in the game, we've dropped off, we've slept, we've just ball watched for a split second, and Reguilon drops a beautiful cross right onto the head of Moussa Sissoko, and they're 1 down, and that's the kind of difference. That's why the best teams always seem to be able to punish you out of nothing, from literally nowhere. All of a sudden Spurs find themselves with a little overload down the left side, good cross into the box, and a player is unmarked and he scores. Apart from that, Brentford have done okay, they've done fine.
But one aberration could prove costly. A few murmurs of discontent as Burma went down. There's no foul by Dyer, who was judged just to have stood his ground. Good defensive header away from the back by the Bees this time, and Canos with a lovely bit of skill, pirouetting it with the ball. He almost miscontrolled it, then won it back again, but Jensen's lost it, and Ndombele will bring it forward for Tottenham, just so he has probably run off the ill effects of that bang that he picked up 6 or 7 minutes ago. Spurs in possession with Højbjerg in the midfield, back for Eric Dyer, but every outfield Tottenham players in Brentford territory. Harry Kane drops deep to receive the ball. Good distribution from him as always. Out towards the Tottenham right for Aurier. Lucas Moura comes to receive it. Gets there ahead of Henry. Back he goes for Aurier, who's ball behind Lucas Moura. Still going to be picked up by the Brazilian. And then it goes back for Davinson Sanchez, and the Colombian finds Eric Dyer, who brings it forward, and Spurs in a similar position again. Kane flicking it on. Beautiful little flick to the outside of the boot for Son. Reguilon ball in from the left-hand side. Not as good as the one that produced the goal. It was a low flat cross that time that was cleared. Back out for Son. Son towards the edge of the area, trying to get it onto his left foot. 2 Brentford players between him and the goal. Back he comes for Sissoko, the goal scorer. High hanging cross from him. Aurier trying to guide it down towards Harry Kane, but Sorensen can clear.
Yeah, a bit of persistent pressure from Spurs. As soon as Brentford clear their lines, Tottenham are resetting back on the halfway line with Eric Dyer. Here they come again.
And he's fizzed one out towards the right-hand touchline where Aurier can control it neatly on his chest. They are getting the full-backs into higher positions now, Tottenham. And here's Aurier again, another illustration of that, with a right-footed ball in that took a deflection, and Sorensen can get it away. Turned back by Højbjerg's header to Davinson Sanchez on halfway, and he finds Eric Dyer. Yeah,
not much respite for Brentford at the moment when they clear their lines. They can't seem to hang on to it up front. They're squeezing. Eric Dyer now going right the way back to his goalkeeper. Now the Brentford back four get a chance to hit the halfway line for the first time in 5 minutes at least.
Very quickly have to drop back inside their own half again. As Lloris played it forward, he was put under pressure by Tony. Tony's hardly had a kick, as Andy was saying. Ball cleared by David Raya towards halfway. Tony's done well that time. Got there ahead of Eric Dyer, but it's crucial when he does win those in the air that Brentford can get Burma or Canos onto the second ball, and it hasn't happened at all. And then as Spurs work it forward David Raya is going to be able to pick it up inside his own penalty area very easily. So Brentford have laid a solid foundation.
Yep.
One defensive error has given Tottenham the lead, but what do Brentford now need to do, Andy, to be more proactive and get themselves back into the game?
Yeah, again, I think that they've weathered that bit of a storm. They've gone one down. They've took the disappointment of that on the chin. And I think now what they have to try and do, their key men for me here tonight, midfield, obviously those boys, as we mentioned earlier, talking to Sags before the game about their discipline. They've got to remain very focused and very disciplined. But the fullbacks and the wide players are the ones that can give Ivan Toney something to attack, something to unsettle Tottenham. They haven't really done that up to now. They haven't really frightened Spurs or had them backpedaling for a sustained period. They've got to try, I think, and get it into these wide areas. If they can get some little 2-on-1s, if they can whip some decent balls in, give the centre forward something to really go after Davinson Sanchez and Eric Dyer on.
They have it at the back with Ethan Pinnock, former Forest Green Rovers defender, who plays it forward for Burma to chase down the right-hand side, but it's knocked away easily by Reguilon. Pinnock gets it again at the back and finds the blonde-haired Dane to his left, Sorensen. And Mads Bech Sorensen turning it forward for his compatriot Jensen. Work wide for Henry. Henry coming in off the left-hand touchline. Just working it down the line. He then played a reverse ball for Canos, trying to get him inside Aurier, but everybody saw what was coming. And Spurs could get it away with Davinson Sanchez. Brentford picking it up again on halfway. Back from Henry to Pinnock. Heeded the cry of man on from his frantic coaching staff down beneath us, with Son bearing down on him, but he just played the way he was facing. Got it back to his goalkeeper, and he plays it out towards Dalsgaard on halfway. We've got 12 minutes to go to half-time. Goal 12 minutes in from Moussa Sissoko. His header from a Reguilon cross, giving Tottenham a 1-0 lead here on TalkSport. And it's a free kick now to Brentford as Dalsgaard's brought down, just about 4 or 5 yards in Tottenham territory. Brentford kick it from left to right. They take the free kick very quickly. Back for De Silva. And then to Pinnock, and in turn to Sorensen, and Brentford again building quite conservatively from the back, but Henry backing himself, just a little drop of the shoulder, an injection of pace, gets away from Lucas Moura. It's a good 1-2 between him and Janelt, and then Henry will be able to bring it forward a good 15 yards. Lays it back for Jensen. Jensen bypassing Janelt in the midfield, this time to find Pinnock. Pinnock in the centre circle, forward to Dalsgaard. Dalsgaard down the right-hand touchline for De Silva, who's gravitating over towards that flank, and Burma playing it in, and Ivan Toney's flick header forces Hugo Lloris into the save. He was put under a little bit of pressure from Canos, and that was Brentford's best move of the game.
That was their best move of the game. Patient football, started on the left side with Rico Henry, very good. Very persistent down that side, eventually coming out to Dalsgaard, the right back, who gives it to Mbeumo, who crosses one like a drilled cross in towards Ivan Toney, who manages to just get there first, can't get enough power on it.
Just over 10 to go to half-time. Spurs leading 1-0. Reguilon, who set up the goal, playing it in here, and Ndombele with a touch for Son. Son out towards Aurier. Danger here for Brentford. 4 to try and pick out in the middle. Lucas Moura was waiting. Aurier gets a second bite of the cherry. Gets away from Jensen. Left-footed ball clipped in from him, but on his weaker side, it was a disappointing over-hit delivery, and appeals that Reguilon had been brought down fall on deaf ears. Just run into traffic, really, as he collided with De Silva. And it'll be a goal kick which will be taken by David Raya away to our left-hand side. There is VAR tonight, incidentally. We haven't had it in the League Cup so far this season, but it is in situ for the 2 semi-finals and for the final as well. Peter Banks is the man who's watching the replays tonight, and Mike Dean is the official in the middle. It was 10 years ago that he officiated the final when Birmingham City beat Arsenal. Here's Kane. Kane's right-footed ball forward. Son will chase, but David Raya again can come out patrolling his penalty area very well. He's had a solid night, solid season. We're 9 minutes from half-time, and Spurs still lead by goal to nil.
Yeah. Just when you mentioned there about VAR, I don't like that, the fact that we haven't had it, and all of a sudden now we switch it on, we put 50p in the VAR meter, and all of a sudden it's up and running for the night. I don't quite understand all that, Jim. I either use it, have it exclusively in the tournament, or don't.
That 50p in the metre, that gets you 3 games, don't forget. Here's Jensen in the midfield. He's fouled. He just drops it back for Janelt. Janelt to Pinnock. I agree with you in terms of the inconsistency.
Yeah, that's...
I don't know, I'm speculating. I may well be wrong, but I wonder if this game had been at Brentford, whether they would have had VAR for the semi-finals or just had it for the final, I don't know. But I understand exactly what you're saying, particularly as there have been games in the quarterfinals of this competition where there have been big moments that VAR would have overturned. You and I saw one in the game between Arsenal and Manchester City, where one of the City goals wouldn't have counted. And similarly, there was an event the following night in Stoke Tottenham game where a decision, and I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly what it was, whether it was a goal that was chalked off wrongly or one that was allowed to stand. I think it was one that was probably chalked off wrongly. Son's goal was it, maybe, but the point is that, you know, VAR would have had different results had it been in for that game, and now it's in for this one. And here's Ivan Toney for Brentford. 8 minutes from half-time, out towards De Silva. Now De Silva, right-hand side of the penalty area, had the chance to deliver a first-time ball in. High ball in is too high for Toney, the target. Canos will try and drill a low cross in. That one hit Aurier. Henry picking up the pieces, lays it back for Janelt. And now it goes out to Henry again. Henry to Canos. Canos, high ball inside the penalty area. Falls for De Silva. What a block that is. Really brave defending from Son, who with no thought of personal safety threw himself into the line of fire. He's back on his feet very quickly, but that was excellent from Brentford. De Silva getting himself into good positions, and he's unmarked again as they try and work the ball towards the edge of the box, but Spurs will be able to bring it away. And this is where they're so potent on the counter-attack. Son towards Sissoko, and De Silva's covered an awful lot of ground, some 70 yards to come back. Put it out of play for a corner. Ends up on his haunches. He might need a breather after that lung-busting defensive run, but should he have equalised at the other end?
Yeah, but that is the way back into this match for Brentford. We saw two situations there, two opportunities to cross and deliver into the box from wide areas. When you do that, there's not a player in the world, a team in the world that wants to defend a ball that's being whipped in across the 6-yard line. It's a nightmare scenario. Brentford there just worried Spurs for those moments with a couple of very, very useful deliveries.
We've got 6 minutes to go to half-time here on Talk Sport. Andy Townsend alongside me, Jim Proudfoot at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The hosts leading Brentford 1-0. Son with a corner. And a little flick header. What a save from David Raya. Lucas Moura with a flick header towards goal, and Raya threw himself away to his left. The ball behind him by the time he was able to get a strong left hand to it and claw it out and keep Brentford in the League Cup.
You know, that was a little too easy. I mean, Lucas Moura, it's a clever header, as you say. I think there might have been a little deflection, Jim, which actually just took the real force of that header away, but it very nearly went in the far corner of the net. And you're right, David Rayas had to make a really, really good save there. An excellent bit of goalkeeping from him, but that's too straightforward. The one thing Brentford can't do is allow Spurs to score from a basic bog standard set play like that. That wasn't a special clever corner, that was just a ball whipped into an area, a nice run. He makes first contact and he very nearly puts Spurs 2 up. And at this stage of the game, with just 5 minutes before half time, vitally important now that Brentford keep this tight. Yeah, I've just seen another little run of it there. It's Lucas Moura gets there first, but there's a slight deflection actually from Ivan Toney that just sends the ball looping up into the air that Raya does well to palm away from under his crossbar.
Here's Moura playing it forward again, smacked it straight into Sissoko. It breaks for Harry Kane towards the edge of the penalty area. Brentford players all around him, he couldn't get a shot in. And Sissoko will work it back for Eric Dyer. Dada, Sanchez, and he goes all the way back to his goalkeeper. But we have seen Brentford's Achilles heel for the goal.
Yep.
Ball swung in from the left-hand side and the free header. Then from Tottenham's first set play, really.
Yep.
The first corner they've had of the night, another ball played in the inside left channel. No defensive marking and a header. Toney and David Raya, between them, did enough. Brentford will bring it forward towards the other end. Canos couldn't control it on the edge of the Tottenham box, and Ndombele can bring it away for Tottenham. And he makes his way through the midfield and finds Kane.
Great ball.
Kane with it, down towards Son. Son's got Reguilon outside him. And that's the pass that he plays. Reguilon turning it immediately and briskly back towards Son. And it was intercepted by Mbermo, who with a little drop of the shoulder beats Son, and then has won the throw off Ndombele. 4 to go to half-time. It's Spurs 1, Brentford 0, Andy.
You know, and they've been very competitive, Brentford. They've done okay. This has been a solid performance from them. Again, we've started to see a little bit more from them at the top of the field. when they've got it wide, when they've tried to cross a few, they've just looked like they might get Ivan Toney involved a little bit more. They've had plenty of the ball, they've been confident in possession, not been overawed at all, not been afraid of Spurs. Mindful, yes, but not showing any real fear. And I still think that they've got plenty of room to grow into this game.
And Burmo looks so comfortable in possession and trying to take on two players quite frequently. They are doubling up on him, Højbjerg and Reguilon, and on that occasion the Frenchman judged to have fouled Reguilon, Europa League winner with Sevilla last season, and the free kick has gone Tottenham's way in the left back position. The camera pans to Jose Mourinho, who's sitting down implacably in his comfy chair with his hands in the pockets of his puffer jacket, trying to keep himself warm on a brisk North London night. And he'll be thinking that the solid platform has been laid down here for another appearance in the Final Four. And he's won this competition 4 times. 3 times with Chelsea and also with Manchester United as well. Can he become the first man ever to win it on 5 separate occasions? He's got a date with Mancunian opposition if they can get the job done tonight. This London derby followed by a Manchester derby tomorrow as United meets City, which is live on TalkSport with our build-up beginning with Sags at 7 o'clock tomorrow night.
Jim, in terms of Spurs, look, doing okay, they have the lead. I think Jose would like to see a little more from his team, to be honest, I do. And I think this is where Spurs get a little bit, they're just a little bit confused, I think, at times. Naturally, when a Jose Mourinho team has a lead, they don't have to overcommit. And I think it's kind of becomes part of your DNA when you're playing for Jose, that you get in front and something takes you back 10 yards a little bit, unnecessarily at times. I still think Spurs could do more going forward. They could have a little bit more intent. They had 5 minutes there, about 10 minutes or so ago, where I thought a second goal might be coming, and then all of a sudden they allowed Brentford to rebuild and just become a little bit more passive and sit behind the ball. And I just think it's a very natural part of a Jose Mourinho team, and for his players to do that. They've got to try and snap out of that a little bit, I feel, in order to go and find a second goal. That one is not going to be necessarily enough. It's going to be a dangerous game for this Spurs side to think that, all right, they might not, they've already got enough, that they might not need another goal. I think they need to keep going, get that second goal, then they can really become the dangerous counter-attacking team that we know.
Well, we're in the last minute of an engaging first 45. There's not going to be too much stoppage time to be added on. Davinson Sanchez plays it forward, and it's headed away by Ethan Pinnock at the heart of the defence for Brentford. Brought down by Sissoko, the goal scorer. First goal of the season, separating these two teams. Davinson Sanchez, right-footed. Lucas Moura on the turn, chests it down, nudges it away from Henry, who followed him infield. But Janelt mops up. He goes back for Jensen. Sorensen fires it across to Dalsgaard, and Dalsgaard will bring it forward and come with intent down the right-hand touchline for Brentford, but he's lost possession, and Spurs now have an opportunity to try and make ground down the left-hand side. As we go into stoppage time at the end of the first half, I think it was 1 extra minute. The number flicked on the board. Lee Mason then turned and showed a blank board to all 4 sides of an empty stadium, but it is just 1 minute that's going to be played.
Stinging shot there from Lucas Moura, hit from about 24-25 yards out, that was blocked by Sorensen.
Brentford looking long again for Ivan Toney. Spurs mopping up in the midfield. Only 3 attempts on goal apiece in the opening 45 minutes, which underlines, Andy, what you've been saying about Spurs' mindset since going ahead. Yeah,
not a lot in this game, not a lot. Spurs, look, they have the vital number at the top of the board here in the ground. That they have a lead, and that, of course, is crucial to them. But in terms of actually what your eyes tell you, eyes tell me that Brentford are very much in this game, as long as they get to half-time without conceding anything unnecessary.
They're only seconds away. In fact, there is the half-time whistle as a Harry Kane attack was curtailed. Brentford bring it away, and the Bees have hung in there, but the side 4th in the Championship trail the side 4th in the Premier League by that early Moussa Sissoko header. It's Tottenham 1, Brentford 0. Sags, thank you very much indeed. Well, the two sets of players are back out for the second half. Just having a quick look, can't see any changes in personnel as far as either are concerned up to this point. Spurs with Lloris in goal, Aurier, Sanchez, Dyer and Reguilon. The goal scorer Sissoko alongside Højbjerg, Mora and Ndombele and Son and Kane up front, but often drifting deep into the number 10 position. Brentford, David Raya in goal, Dalsgaard, Pinnock, Sorensen and Henry, De Silva, Janelt and Jensen, and Burmo, Tony and Canos as the forward three. Sissoko with the goal, Canos and Janelt in the book, and Spurs in their familiar white and dark blue will get the second half underway in a moment on the signal from Mike Dean. They're kicking from left to right in this second half. What do we need to see as far as Brentford are concerned? What does Jose Mourinho want to see more of from Spurs, Andy Townsend?
Well, certainly from a Brentford point of view, just more belief at the top of the field. A bit more courage, got a bit more men forward. Jim, it's not going to happen if they all stand behind and just expect Ivan Toney to do something miraculous to get them back in the game. Got to flood that box at the right time, get numbers in there, force some mistakes from these Tottenham players, put them on the back foot, put them on edge a little bit. So I just think a little bit more belief all round. They've been very good up to a point. Now they've just got to find that extra dimension. I think for Tottenham, you're one in front. You're 45 minutes from a cup final. So play sensibly. Don't dive in. Don't make any silly, unnecessary lunges in wide areas and concede wide free kicks and corners that might give Brentford a route back into this game. And can you feed Son or Harry Kane at the right areas to go and put this tie to bed? Simple as that.
Dalsgaard plays the ball out towards De Silva on the Brentford right. It's an excellent pass from him to Jensen. Jensen then sprays it down to this near touchline. The Brentford left for Canos. Henry's outside him. Canos, though, uses him as the decoy. Cuts inside. Right-footed effort. Might have been close. Took a deflection which spins the ball back outside the penalty area to the left-hand side. Lloris found himself doing a little dance with his right-hand post for a moment as he went across to cover the shot. And Spurs can get it away until Henry wins it back and fires it at Pinnock, who controls it neatly, and Brentford will come again.
Lovely start from them, exactly. I should think what Thomas Frank wanted from his players. Be positive, be brave, take the game to Spurs a bit. I mentioned about risk and reward. You've got to risk getting people in the box in order to try and get back in the game.
Now Canos, who's on a yellow card, is going to be spoken to here for going through Lucas Moura. Harry Kane is making the point that Canos has already been booked. Now Mike Dean, I don't know whether he's giving himself some thinking time here as he's just called Canos over. There's no sign that a second yellow card is going to be produced. But Dalsgaard, the captain's also being called over, and clearly the message from the referee is next one and you are off. And you're on effectively an orange for that. That's the one. And referees will always tell you they don't do it. But had he not had a yellow card, he would have had one for that.
He might have had one for that. You're right. Certainly Mike Dean has stopped the game. Everybody was kind of just drawing breath for a minute there as he spoke to Sergi Canos. We'll see it there. Do you know what? It's a foul. I honestly think, Jim, it's a foul. I don't think it's a yellow card challenge. I just think that's a trip. And he's not denied Spurs a major counter-attack or anything like that to warrant a yellow card. I just think that's pretty sensible refereeing there from Mike Dean.
Yeah, it was awkward. It wasn't dangerous.
No.
And I think, as you say, the referee got it right. But Canos knows. He's been told.
Correct. Now he's on thin ice now. So now don't do anything silly because you put the whole tie at risk now if you dive into another silly challenge unnecessarily. He's a forward player. He doesn't have to make those last gasp tackles that could potentially put him on in a yellow card situation. Now play sensibly.
Henry, who has impressed, gets it back for his goalkeeper. David Reyes spins it out towards the right-hand touchline where a decent header down from Dalsgaard will try and get Tony going, and Burmo making his way forward. And he's got the better of Sanchez. He's right-hand side of the air, comes inside the box, tries to challenge. Tony trying to pass the ball into the net. It's a brilliant saving challenge from Aurier, blocking it right at the point of contact. And it looked for all the world it was going to be 1-1.
Didn't it? It looked exactly that, Jim. Brilliant work from Mbeumo. who managed to wriggle past Davinson Sanchez right on the byline. He's then looking for his big centre forward, Ivan Toney. He cuts it back to him perfectly, and I think it's a brilliant challenge actually from Serge Aurier to deny Brentford's main man from getting them right back into this tie.
Toney met it cleanly. I think he thought he'd scored. He hadn't seen that Aurier was sprinting from his blind side to come in, and he threw himself into the line of the shot, and the ball spun up in the air. But that is a moment of encouragement as far as Brentford are concerned, and just a shot across the bows. Spurs know that they haven't won this yet, despite the fact that they lead by a goal to nil. 4.5 minutes into the second half here on TalkSport, with me, Jim Prout, and Andy Townsend talking you through the action. Here's Serge Aurier bringing the ball forward now, down the Tottenham right, and he's found Lucas Moura, the shaven-headed Brazilian. Back for Aurier, right-footed effort, and he's put too much on it, and he's gone over the junction of post and bar, and Harry Kane just stops. He was 8 yards out in a central position, not many Brentford players around him, and he just looks at Aurier, and that's all he needed to do to get the message home to the Ivorian that he made the wrong decision there.
Yeah, he just got carried away a little bit there, Serge Aurier. I'll be honest with you, I think in that situation, very difficult to resist the temptation of shooting. He's approaching the corner of the 6-yard box on his right foot, and he can see that, yes, he does have other options, maybe square, but I think he sees the game there wrapped up, Jim, in a nutshell, Serge Aurier, and if he can hit the target with any sort of powerful shot, Raya would have been in trouble. As it was, he just leant back a little bit, skied the shot, and chance gone.
Højbjerg forward through the midfield for an Ndombele. Now he goes out to the Tottenham left-hand side. Son's made a good run into a central position. Reguilon couldn't find him. A sliding challenge from Burmo, and it was a genuine attempt to win the ball, but he's got plenty of Reguilon and none of the ball, and that's a yellow card. And a free kick to Spurs, 5 yards outside the box left of centre.
Yeah, and Harry Kane immediately picks the ball up and just brushes it on his shirt and just wipes it clean before he places it at his feet, because he's already got his eyes firmly on dealing with this one. He wants this free kick. There's a few round the ball that might also fancy their chances, but Kane is standing there talking to Eric Dyer, and the two of them are deciding which one's going to take it. I know I'd want taking it. I know Eric Dyer has had some success from free kicks, but Harry Kane hasn't walked away from this one. He's very much got his eyes set on trying to whip this over that Brentford wall and under Raya's crossbar.
Scored 167 goals in his last 200 starts for club and country. Kane driving it straight into the quintet of Brentford players in the wall. Reguilon back into the fray. It was a poor shot that almost ended up as a great ball for Davinson Sanchez, and then Reguilon is booked as Brentford try and get it away quickly on the counter-attack. Reguilon knew the danger of letting Brentford sprint forward, took one for the team, and he's also in the book.
He did indeed, yeah. Free kick, I felt actually they rushed that a little bit there, Spurs, in the end. Brentford doing well to clear their lines, and quite rightly, as you say, Jim, Reguilon gets a yellow card for that challenge on Ivan Toney, just when it looked like Brentford, if they could have got a pass or two together, might have had a counter-attack of their own.
So that's 4 in the book now, and 2 really good chances, one at either end in the opening 7 minutes of this second half here on TalkSport. Tottenham still leading. They've had the advantage for the last 40 minutes or so after that Reguilon cross, which was headed in by the unmarked Sissoko. Just got the run on Janelt, and that's the goal that's the difference between the two teams. Aurier heading the ball away. Down it comes on the left-hand side of the Brentford midfield, but the offside flag's up against Canos, and it's a free kick which will be taken by Spurs. It should be taken on the edge of their own penalty area. Højbjerg tried to nick 10 yards, but referee wasn't having any of that. And Davinson Sanchez ends up only nicking 3 or 4 when he takes it. It does go, in fairness, back behind square to Eric Dyer. It's 1-0 to Tottenham here on TalkSport.
Yeah, we're 8 minutes into the second 45. And Tottenham's right back, Serge Aurier, produces one brilliant recovery challenge to deny Ivan Toney, and then just a few moments later found himself right on the point of the 6-yard box with really only David Raya to beat, right in standing there in front of him, and he just leans back and skies the shot a little bit when just a little bit more care there might have wrapped up proceedings here, because the second one for Spurs, and it's an awful long way back then for Brentford.
Canos battling with Aurier, forced back towards his own penalty area, withstood the pressure and played it out towards the right hand side, but Højbjerg's won it back, and now Son, who's actually been quite quiet tonight, just able to bring it forward. He links up with Sissoko to Tanguy and Ndombele, who controls it, runs round the ball, plays a little 1-2 with Aurier, and goes back behind square for Dyer. And Spurs having a spell of sustained possession, not really fussed about going anywhere with it at the moment. It's just an exercise in ball retention and conservative passage of play, but they've worked it out towards the right flank now for Aurier. Højbjerg, Thomas Frank standing in his tracksuit on the edge of the technical area, just trying to implement a little bit of fine-tuning about his side's midfield positioning at the moment. Here's Moore. Oh, that's a very clever ball outside of the right foot. It's found Sissoko. Canos can't make a challenge on him. Henry comes across and makes sure it's nothing more than a corner. I think he was in Canos' mind there, and then he suddenly realised, I can't get this wrong.
Yep, can't make a challenge there. Did the right thing in the end. You've just got to let the opponent go, and he made exactly the right call. It was Sissoko that drove to the byline. He actually had a chance there to fire that across the 6-yard line, Jim, and maybe just hopefully pick out a white shirt in a crowd scene to just bundle it over the line. But that was a good situation for Spurs there.
Well, the goal came from a header from a cross. They very nearly scored from a header from the only corner they've had. This is Tottenham's second corner. Son's ball in, very disappointing under the circumstances. Far too low, easily cleared by De Silva. Spurs will come again though, recycling the ball. Aurier laying it back for Reguilon. Wearing 3, the Tottenham left back. High ball forward from him, and the offside flag's up against Davinson Sanchez, who's still forward from the previous corner, and it's a free kick which Brentford will take on the edge of their own box. 11 gone in the second half. Manchester derby coming your way tomorrow from Old Trafford. United against City with Sam Matterface and Trevor Sinclair, and Sags taking you through the action. Our coverage starts here on TalkSport at 7 tomorrow night. This one, Spurs 1, Brentford 0, with 11 gone in the second half at the moment. Here's De Silva finding Sorensen, and the Danish under-21 international scoops it forward, but it's hit and hope, painting by numbers delivery really, and Sissoko's able to mop up on the Tottenham right, and he wins a throw.
Yep. So Brentford, no, they still have plenty of time to get back in this. Haven't got to go crazy. Yes, they want to be progressive. They want to try and ask a few questions, but they don't have to try and get back in this game straight away. They've just got to wait for the right moment. Someone's got to take a chance. Someone's got to create a decent opportunity. But ultimately, somebody's got to step up to the plate and apply a finish to get them back into a game.
Now Matthias Jensen got the better of his international teammate Højbjerg there with a lovely turn in the midfield, and just protecting the ball, almost ran away from it, took Højbjerg with him, and allowed De Silva the opportunity to pick up possession. Spurs then gave a free kick away, and here's a chance for Brentford to work it forward from near the halfway line. Spurs keeping an ultra high line.
How high that is?
That's 15 outside the penalty area. He's clipped inside the box, left hand side of the penalty area. Dalsgaard trying to work in it, hit Harry Kane. Dalsgaard gets a second opportunity, right-footed curving ball in, just died a little before it found its target, Sorensen. Kane brings it away. The whistle has gone, and the referee's found in his favour, and it's a free kick to Spurs. But that was so high, that defensive line on that free kick.
That was a free kick for Brentford. I'd say 10 yards into the Tottenham half, just sort of left of centre, and Spurs were 15 yards outside of their own 18-yard box. So any little clip ball, it doesn't have to be a whipped, pacey delivery, just something chipped over that back line for a good run, a well-timed run, and you can penetrate that. I see that a lot nowadays, and I think the thought process for a lot of these teams is that the higher we are out, further away we are from our goal. Even if we don't make first contact and our opponent does, well, look, we've still got a chance to recover. Whereas if you drop onto your own goalkeeper and a ball's whipped into an area, any sort of touch, and it can end up in the back of the net. That's the thought process, Jim. Get out as far as we can, but a clever delivery, a clever clip ball in, a good and well-timed run can penetrate that, and they nearly did there, Brentford.
Well, we saw it in the game last night. Southampton beating Liverpool with that second-minute free kick as Ward-Prowse played it down the inside left channel in a similar... I mean, Liverpool didn't defend that one quite as high.
No.
But it was that same kind of run that Brentford tried there, that Danny Ings made last night, making first contact around the edge of the penalty area, and if you get the execution of a lob right, the defending side are in all kinds of trouble. But Brentford didn't get it right, and Spurs will bring it forward here with Son. With play 59, it's Tottenham 1, Brentford 0. And Son's played it out towards the left flank, where it's played back by Sissoko. And through the midfield for Davinson Sanchez. Now Sanchez will look at his options. Lucas Moura wanted the ball into feet. Thought that Sanchez was then going to play it out wide. Lucas Moura ended up receiving the ball, but he was off balance because he was trying to spin for the second ball in from Aurier. As it was, Spurs have maintained possession, and they have it inside their own half of the centre circle with Dyer, and that's a lovely ball, weighted perfectly from Dyer out towards Aurier. Aurier back towards Sissoko on the edge of the box. Mistake by Yanal. Sissoko firing the cross in. Right-footed volley is inches wide from Son, and it was only a matter of inches. Beautiful Tottenham move. Sissoko really fizzed the ball across, and Son met it. Beautiful body shape, turning right-footed volley, and he was a fraction away from goal number 150 in his career.
Wow, they were so close there, Spurs, for getting that bus warmed up, getting ready to make that journey to Wembley. I tell you what, that's a lovely cross, and such a beautifully controlled volley, wasn't it, from Son, as you say, Jim. He's on the left side in the 18-yard box. The ball's come onto his right foot on the volley, and he hits it ever so clean, and Raya would have been panicking for a split second, delighted to see it go just inches wide of his left-hand post.
One of those, as a goalkeeper, you make the dive, you can't see, you know the ball is past you, you can't see what's happened, and you just wait a fraction of a second and hope that you hear not the fizz of the net, but the thump of the ball on the hoardings behind the goal. Well, that's what David Raya heard. It stays 1-0, but it was very nearly 2-0 to Tottenham in a place at Wembley, you'd think, and Son's 16th goal of the season. But as it is, Brentford continue to hang in there, and they will bring it forward with Rico Henry on the left-hand side, and he's worked it down the touchline. And Canos taking on Aurier, who's forced to come back to poke it out for a Brentford throw in an advanced position down by the corner flag.
Yep. Got to start to force the issue a little bit. And I think the way you've got to be brave in some ways is when people like Canos in particular, who looks like he can go past people. You know, he's skillful and he's clever when he's got the ball at his feet. You've got to take people on. You've then got to drive into open space, commit people, drag people out towards you in order to just provide a bit of something, a bit of space for somebody else.
Now this is the first opportunity for a Mansbeck Sorensen long throw tonight, and he's hurled one in from the left-hand touchline towards the end of the 6-yard box, and he took a flick off Davinson Sanchez's head that could have caused all kinds of problems. Reguilon slices it intentionally over his own bar for a corner, and then the inquest starts.
Well, that was a wild slash at it in the end from Reguilon, who's about 4 yards out. And it's come to him on his right foot, not his trusted left. This is on his swinger, and it does look a bit of an amateurish clearance, and he's happy to see it hit his shin and just fly over the crossbar for another Brentford corner, this time off the other side.
And it's a real crowd scene in front of Hugo Lloris. There are 10 players around him inside the 6-yard box. Maybe actually 12 or 13 by the time Tottenham drop another one back in there to mark. And it's a free header for Tony, who's missed it, but he gets there at the second attempt. He nods it in from close range. Spurs appeal that there should be an offside flag, and the VAR will check it. But Brentford have the ball in the net. And do they have parity? Tony with the initial header, which was saved, beaten away as it was worked back in. He nodded it in from close range, but is he offside? We'll have another look at the replay. It's really, really close. I think he's on. I think Sissoko has played him on.
So close, Jim. It is. This one is going to get the tape measure out. He might be offside, you know. He just might be offside with a leg that's just outstretched a little bit.
Yeah, he's off.
So close, but I'm afraid it looks like it's going to get chalked off, I think. He did so well. It was a real clever bit of movement from the corner. He actually spun away from Eric Dyer right to the middle of the 6-yard box, and he kind of missed his header, and you thought the chance had gone. Then it eventually comes back to him, and it looks like, or is that Moussa Sissoko's foot? I can see. It is millimetre stuff here. This is.
Well, when the ball is headed in by Pinnock, Tony is almost on the deck, and Sissoko is standing there, and his right foot is just goal side, and I think it's the knee of Tony is probably just, I don't know, 2 inches further towards goal, and it is offside.
Now this is where having VAR here tonight, that's where I think in some ways, look, it's been chalked off. No goal.
But as you say, this is the first game in the EFL Cup this season that we've had VAR, and if we hadn't had VAR tonight, it's 1-1.
And there wouldn't have been too many complaints, you know that? There wouldn't have been if we're not drawing lines all over the images, there wouldn't have been too many complaints. The Spurs players would have had to get back to the halfway line and get on with the game. As it is, hey, listen, we can't argue with it because it's factual. He is inches and just a few inches offside it, but it's really unfortunate in many ways.
Pinnock with a defensive header that almost came past his on-rushing goalkeeper, but Ray got it right. The bottom line is, Andy, they got the decision correct.
They did.
The goal didn't stand, and he was offside. Yep. And that is, the principle, the basic principle of VAR, that you get the decisions that you can ascertain, rightly or wrongly, whether somebody is offside or the factual ones, the big errors. That's what it's there for, and that is why I like it, I must admit. I don't like the inconsistency of the application of it throughout this tournament, but that is why, in essence, why I like it, because the right decision has been made tonight. But Brentford were, a fraction away from getting back on level terms. Here's Højbjerg now for Spurs, who've had a couple of moments in the second half that have just underlined that they're not at Wembley yet. Play now stops because Aurier is down injured, having been caught about 3 yards inside the Brentford half of the field, and he's down holding his knee. And Brentford do have attacking options on the bench, particularly Marcus Forss, the former West Bromwich Albion apprentice, who scored 11 goals on loan at Wimbledon last season. He's got a great record coming off the bench and scoring goals, and I just wonder whether he will be coming on in a moment. He has been out warming up. Meanwhile, Serge Aurier, that looked like a really awkward fall, seeing it, Andy. You just grimaced and subconsciously grabbed your right knee in consolation for him.
Whenever I see a player, Serge Aurier did there, he kind of stumbled into a challenge, and his right knee sort of got caught underneath his own body weight, and he sat down on it and then sort of jolted up in the air where he feels the pain, and I think he's just about got away with that one, because that's exactly the sort of challenge you can see where it's a crucial ligament injury and you're gone for the best part of 6, 8, 10 months. It can happen that easy, that innocuously. Thankfully for Serge Aurier, it looks like he's back on his feet, he's moving okay, but it looked like an awkward situation, but he's okay.
He's going to be able to continue. Spurs next in action at Marine in the FA Cup third round on Sunday, and we've got the game for you live here on TalkSport on Sunday. That's the second half of a double bill of FA Cup action for you on Sunday. Matt Holland alongside me and Sags at Stamford Bridge for Chelsea against Morecambe. Saturday, 5 ties for you. Everton, Rotherham, Stoke, Leicester, QPR, Fulham, Arsenal, Newcastle and Manchester United, Watford, all on the TalkSport network. And our weekend of FA Cup coverage concludes Monday night with Stockport West Ham, having begun on Friday with Villa Liverpool. Here's Son back through the midfield for Ndombele. Harry Kane's got it. We're midway through the second half, but there's going to be a fair bit of stoppage time to be added on already. It's 1-0 to Tottenham. Sissoko's goal on 12 minutes. Still the difference between the two sides, although Tony's had one rightly chalked off by the VAR for offside, and a very close call. Spurs try and bring it forward than Ndombele. He's lost out, and Brentford will be able to bring it away down their left flank with Henry. Henry just getting himself involved in the foot race with Lucas Moura, sensed that he wasn't going to beat him. Moura had a decent yard start on him, and in the end he's worked it back for Sorensen, and Sorensen punts it forward. Tony's offside, no doubt about that one, and it's a free kick which will be taken by Spurs 10 yards outside their own penalty area. Quarter of the game to go, or a quarter of the regulation 90 anyway, and still Spurs lead, Andy.
They still have a lead. It's a slender one. to be honest. I mean, apart from the Son volley, Spurs have had one or two situations without really looking like creating a serious chance. Brentford have had the best chance of the second period so far with that Ivan Toney header that was just chalked off, but they're very much in the game, and it's a precarious lead that Spurs have. You know, I mentioned before the game that one is never enough in any game, certainly not in a cup semi-final where things can change very quickly.
There's been one game in League 2 tonight, incidentally, and improving Mansfield have made 3 wins in a row. They've beaten Salford 2-1. Here's an Ndombele. It's a good ball through. He's in. It's on. It's 2-0. And it is surely Tottenham making the trip to Wembley. One killer through ball, all it has taken. And Son ran onto it. The 150th goal of his career is a very significant one for Tottenham Hotspur, because it surely takes them through to the 2021 Carabao Cup final.
There you go. That's the difference. That's what you pay the big bucks for. That is why that people like Son should command the biggest and the best money in the game, because you know what, when it comes to it, they make the difference. They go and win your matches. They get you to cup finals. That's a brilliant bit of fast, attacking, enterprising football from Spurs. The best they've produced, probably the only bit they've produced in the second 45. Inevitably it goes to Harry Kane. He finds Ndombele, and Son is like a train. He is flying through the middle of the field. He just wants somebody to put the ball in front of him. Ndombele duly obliges, and he smashes it past Raya to surely put Tottenham in a cup final.
Well, they're inches away from it being a very different story. Brentford thought they got it back to 1-1, and within 5 or 6 minutes at the other end, Spurs do score the second goal of the night. Tottenham make a double change. Harry Winks for Lucas Moura. Ben Davies, former winner of this competition in his days with Swansea, on for Reguilón. Yeah.
And there you go. Now all of a sudden Jose has 2 in his back pocket. Thank you very much. I'll take off Lucas Moura. I'll put Harry Winks on. He's got Ben Davies on, so they're not going to have quite the same threat in the forward positions, but they're not looking for that now, Jim. They've got 2 goals. They've got one hand, or should I say one leg, firmly inside Wembley Stadium, that's for sure. And I can't see now how Brentford can possibly get back into this one.
So Harry Winks is playing in the midfield alongside Højbjerg. Sissoko's moved out to be a more conservative option on the right-hand side of the midfield 5, taking Lucas Moura's position. And he's picked up possession, goes back for Aurier, him to Davinson Sanchez, and now to Eric Dyer. And Spurs able to bring it forward. They've only conceded 3 goals in the last 8 home games. They'll be very confident of protecting a 2-0 lead for 18 minutes.
Yeah. I'm convinced they will as well. I've enjoyed, and they're not out of it yet, Brentford. Listen, we've still got, as you say, probably best part of 20 minutes or so still to go. I'm seeing some images of Thomas Frank on the monitors in front of me, and he's studying what's going on out there. Now he's got to try and come up with something very, very clever to get back into this tie now, because Spurs very much in the ascendancy.
Well, he's going to make a change in a moment, and Marcondes will be coming on. Here's Winks in possession, and he's played it back for Eric Dyer in his own half of the centre circle. Back from him to the only outfield player behind him, who's Davinson Sanchez, and then played forward by Aurier. Højbjerg taking it neatly, gets away from Janelt. High crossfield ball out towards Son, who backpedals and brings it down on his thigh. Ball in from him, sliced by Pinnock, but in the end that took it away from Kane. There was no way that could be deemed to be a back pass, and Raya can come out and pick it up. So it was a good bad touch as far as Pinnock was concerned, but Brentford need to get themselves upfield and get themselves back into the game as quickly as they can. And while the focus has understandably been on Brentford tonight in their first major semi-final in their 131-year history, Tottenham have done the job very professionally.
They have, you're right, they certainly have, without being exceptional and without being at their very best. They've been a lesson in efficiency, they really have, because they got themselves a goal in the first half from the first real situation where a Tottenham player, Reguilón it was, the left back, was able to have the time and a little bit of space to provide something for Moussa Sissoko to head it beautifully into the back of the net. And then in the second half, a Son shot that was narrowly wide, but apart from that, not too much in terms of chances created by Spurs. Then almost out of nothing, they just picked the tempo of the game up. 3 or 4 quick passes involving Harry Kane and Ndombele, and Son scores.
And Kane could be in here. Good save by David Raya. It was a quick free kick after a double change for Brentford. Just a straight ball forward, and Kane rolled his marker, got a right-footed shot in, but David Raya was out quickly, saved with his foot, and Brentford's little glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel does remain intact. The changes they've made, Marcondes on and Tariq Fosu on. Canos doesn't have to precariously navigate that yellow card tightrope any longer. He's one of them that's come off. Here is Tariq Fosu trying to get involved straight away. A scuffed shot from a tight angle which hit a Spurs player and falls for Sissoko, and then Kane can flick it forward. Janelt's the other man that has come off incidentally for Brentford. So an attack-minded change really, as they're trying to get Fosu on the left-hand side, forward in support. Marcondes playing as a 10 alongside De Silva, and Jensen has dropped back into Janelt's holding position in the midfield for the Bees. Ball is at the feet of for David Raya, the goalkeeper, and it's quickly knocked back to him by Jensen, and then Raya, the Spaniard, can play it out towards the right, an opportunity for Brentford to bring it forward. 15 minutes to go. Spurs lead by 2-0. Looking good for a place in the final. And here's Mbeumo towards the edge of the penalty area. Left-footed ball chipped in and just tested down very calmly by Serge Aurier. Do you think back to another London derby we've seen this season where Spurs were 3 up later in the game than this, and West Ham got back into it with that Lanzini moment of magic to tie it up at 3-3. So strange things can happen.
It's going to have to start happening pretty soon, Jim. You get the feeling. And of course, the more that Brentford push and commit, it just might leave them open to be exploited once more.
Sissoko's trying to do that now. Finds Kane. Kane to his left-hand side is Son. Son towards the edge of the penalty area. Good support for him. Coming outside from Ndombele, who fires it in from the tight angle. Did that just clip the outside of the post?
Yeah,
I wonder as David Raya was beaten.
I think it did. It would have taken something very special from Ndombele to beat the goalkeeper there, because he was almost on the byline when he struck that. But the ball actually in the end did strike the upright. It was a good counter from Spurs. Son it was who fed Ndombele on the overlap down Tottenham's left side. He takes a first touch to avoid the challenge, which takes him virtually on the byline, but he does hit it well with his left foot, and it wraps the outside of the post. Spurs have it again. Played forward by Sanchez. Out of play for a throw that'll be taken on the Brentford left by Henry. Brentford at home to Middlesbrough in the FA Cup. Spurs, as I mentioned, away at Marine Sunday afternoon. Early tea time, a game that will bring you live on Talk Sport. Brentford have to make sure that they see this cup run for what it is, not for the disappointment of a defeat tonight, but for the 4 Premier League scabs that they have taken. And they can't let it affect the fantastic form they've had in the league. Unbeaten in 15 league games. They are 6 points off the top behind Norwich, but they do have a game in hand. And it's another promotion campaign that they're very quietly confident that they might be able to get the job done this time. Their magnificent new arena, the Community Stadium, which is not the biggest by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly worthy of Premier League football. The team hoping to prove that they are as well. Still trying to get themselves back into this, but as Andy said, it's going to have to be quick now. 12 minutes to go. They trail by 2-0, but they have a free kick, which is about 8 yards in Tottenham territory, and Ndombele just being a little bit pernickety about where the free kick should be taken from. Jensen sprays it wide for Henry. Henry towards the edge of the penalty area. High left-footed, lofty ball in from him, and Mbeumo attacking it. Got the jump on his marker, but headed it over Ben Davies and over the bar. He did have the leap on Ben Davies there. It was a looping cross from Henry right to the far side for Mbeumo, who's gaining ground on Ben Davies as that delivery came in, but it was a little bit too big for him to really keep that down under the crossbar to work Hugo Lloris. And in the end, it's another situation that just passes Brentford by.
Last time these two sides met was 20 years ago, and it finished 2-0 to Tottenham on that occasion as well. Leonardson and Iversen, the men with the goals, the two Norwegian internationals. Brentford trying to get themselves back into it here with Marcondes. Silva clever on the edge of the D, but Kane back in a defensive position, flicked it away from him, and leads the counter-attack, which for a moment was 4 against 4. Brentford have got bodies back behind the ball now. Kane finding Son. Son's ball back in towards Kane did him no favours, particularly when you've run 60 yards upfield, and then Son's won it back from Mbeumo, and they can't play him back in. Sorensen got it away. Then Winks turned around the corner by Son and picked up gratefully by David Raya. 11 to go, 2-0 Tottenham.
Yeah, a couple of sharp passes there on the edge of the Brentford 18-yard box in the end. Harry Winks fires one into Son, who just can't quite control that for Ndombele.
Those are the thoughts of Andy Townsend, alongside me, Jim Proudfoot, here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Salam at our in-stadium producer, Mark Saggers in the chair. Don't forget the sports bar coming your way on TalkSport tonight. Your chance to react to this game, and also to the sad news of the passing of Manchester City legend Colin Bell, which was announced earlier tonight. Ball played forward down the left-hand touchline. Here's Tariq Fosu, former Oxford man, finding Henry. Henry fizzing a left-footed ball inside the penalty area. The Ben Davies comes across at the penalty spot and volleys away. Right-footed effort from Jensen was interesting, albeit from a long way out, and it was dealt with after a fashion by Aurier, who can then turn under pressure from Tony and get it clear. And it goes out of play for a throw, which will be taken on the Brentford left, but only after they've made another change. And Mbeumo's race is run. He's coming off, and Marcus Forss is going to come on to replace him. Forss, who scored 7 goals this season, but 4 of them as a substitute, and he has netted in this competition against West Brom and against Fulham, and he's got 10 minutes to make an impression here. I would imagine they'll go 4-4-2 now.
Yeah, had his moments in Mbeumo this evening. He showed good skill and certainly gave it his all. As you say, Forss now, can he be a force of nature? Can he really make something happen for Brentford later on? Another long throw about to happen here from this left side. Sorensen's going to wind this one in towards that Tottenham penalty spot.
8-step run up, hurls it in. Kane trying to win the first contact, got it away. Son helps it further clear, and then Winks is dispossessed just in the heart of the midfield, as it looks as though a counter-attack might be on. It was a crucial foot-in from Fosu, and although Brentford very quickly lost it again, it stopped any momentum for Spurs. But they do lead 2-0 with 8.5 minutes plus stoppage time to go. Could easily be 5 minutes to be added on, mind. Here's Jensen, little nutmeg of Son under pressure. Kane putting the pressure on Pinnock. The loose ball breaks into the midfield for De Silva, and he works it out towards Dalsgaard, his captain, and then De Silva with the confidence just to try and take it on through the midfield, and he chops it away as a sore one for one of the Spurs players in there, but play goes on with Henry towards the edge of the box. Sissoko back goal side of him. Henry finding Fosu. Fosu back behind square, an opportunity for Dalsgaard, thought about it from 35 yards, then took it on another 10 yards, passes it off towards the edge of the box. De Silva chopping it onto his left foot, can't get a shot in. It's back to Jensen out towards the right hand side. Højbjerg still down injured, incidentally, upfield in Brentford territory. Spurs asking for the ball to be put out of play, and now as the ball is worked wide, Mike Dean concurs, and Højbjerg can receive whatever treatment is necessary. He has been down for a good 40-45 seconds. Yep,
he spent a long time on the floor there, Højbjerg, and the Brentford bench wasn't too happy in the end that they felt their players were obliged to put that out, because the Tottenham player is laying down on the floor. He's hardly moved, to be fair to him, and he's sort of 60 yards away from the action. Although it looks like now he's sitting upright, and it looks like maybe we're going to see Mike Dean actually going over to his monitor on the far side here, Jim.
So Peter Banks is the VAR, and he has made a suggestion to Mike Dean that he goes over to the referee review area over on the far side. I would imagine that he's looking at the challenge on Højbjerg. Yes, he is. Højbjerg coming to meet the ball, and has De Silva gone in high over the top? Yes, he has. He's lost the ball.
It's a red card.
and that is going to be a red card, you would imagine. Mike Dean will come back. Højbjerg stayed down on the deck, and I'm sure Mike Dean is going to reach for the red card in the back pocket in a moment. He calls De Silva over, and he's dismissed, and he can't have any complaints at all. Peter Banks, the VAR, suggesting that the challenge was looked at. It had been missed by Mike Dean, kind of understandably, I guess, because it wasn't immediately by the ball. But De Silva is sent off, and with him goes any last vestiges of hope as far as Brentford are concerned.
It's the right call. It's the right call. And, you know, he's worked exceptionally hard, Josh De Silva. He really has for his team there. But he had possession of the ball, and he just turned out to try and switch the play, and it got away from him. Højbjerg read the situation, and then he showed 6 studs right on the Tottenham man's shin, and I'm afraid he can't have any complaints about that. Again, VAR doing its job when it should. I mean, that's what it's also there to do, to protect players from challenges like that. It was a poor one on him. I don't think it's one of those split-second ones where he's in possession, he loses the ball, it gets away from him, and then all of a sudden you just find yourself with your foot up in the air and you clatter into your opponent. It's a nasty one, but I'm afraid it's the right call. Look at that, we're seeing Højbjerg's shin here, and he's got...
Well, it's lacerated.
It is. He's got an 8-inch laceration right down his shin there. He really has, from that challenge.
And he's got parallel marks either side of it from where he's been caught by other studs. And he is absolutely raging about it as well, Højbjerg. Dalsgaard, his international teammate, the Brentford right back, put his arm round his shoulder and was trying to calm him down. He's not going to be able to continue, Højbjerg, or they've decided that he shouldn't anyway, and Tanganga's going to come on.
Yeah.
When you see it in real time, though, it was a genuine attempt.
It was.
Once he'd lost the ball, just to try and get it back. Now, the impact was horrendous.
Yes.
But I don't think it certainly wasn't premeditated.
No. It's not one of those 50-50 challenges where you're both running towards a loose ball between you and you're 10 yards apart and you're thundering towards each other and someone lifts a leg up and plants it deliberately on someone's shin. It happened very, very quickly. The ball just got away from De Silva. He had possession of it. It got away from him, and then it again trying to correct the situation, he lunges in a little bit very quickly, and he's raked his studs right the way down Højbjerg's shin. Look, the Tottenham man, I'm sure will be okay. It doesn't look good, but it's a cut on his shin. It could have been a lot worse, believe you me. He's walked off. He's disappointed with the challenge, Højbjerg, and he has every right to be. But I'm sure, Jim, in a couple of days' time, he'll be all right.
Had his leg been planted,
it's a different ball game.
Completely.
Listen, he could be out. You could be talking about a season-ending challenge. They can be career-ending challenges. I mean, that's how fine these situations can be. It wasn't a good tackle from De Silva. He deserved a red card for that. He did, but sometimes that happens in football. They don't always have to be premeditated and totally deliberate. Sometimes they do just happen. They just occur. I do feel that was one of those moments.
Well, Spurs now have a free kick as Jensen fouls and Ndombele. 3 minutes to go. Tottenham 2 goals up and a man up as well. And it's all over by the shouting. Brentford's first major semi-final is going to end in defeat. Spurs in their 16th in this competition alone. And they're about to go 9-7 and make it through to the final, which they will hope to win for the 5th time. Vinicius is going to be coming on for Spurs as well very shortly. We've got 3 minutes to go. Ivan Toney playing it forward for Marcus Forss to chase, but the young Finlander, who hasn't had a touch since coming on, certainly is going to be feeding on scraps now that Spurs, with the numerical advantage, should be able to just suffocate the life out of the game with possession.
Yeah, Jose may be making, as you say, Jim, just that one last change again, just more than anything, just to settle his team down and just give them a chance to regroup, regather themselves, and just eventually run this clock down and get over the line.
Here's Marcondes. Long ball down the Brentford right-hand side. Easily mopped up by Eric Dyer, who's just given a little shove actually to the ground by Dalsgaard, who didn't think there was much in that. But a free kick has been given by the assistant referee, who's right in front of him, and that allows Spurs the opportunity to make the change. And Vinicius will come on, and Son is the player who will come off, and it's his wonderful goal.
What a goal.
A brilliant finish that has sealed this for Spurs.
Stunning goal. Look, it's not been his very best night's work, Son, but what a moment, what a brilliant finish it was from him. And the difference, that's the difference in a nutshell between what we've seen. Between the two boxes, Brentford have been good, they've been competitive, they've knocked it around quite nicely. All of a sudden, Tottenham get half a chance to release Son, to get him running and bearing down on the edge of that 18-yard box, for the Brentford 18-yard box, and he finishes it so majestically, so beautifully. And that, as I said, is why these boys command the biggest numbers in football. It's why they cost you so much to get them, and it's why they want the big bucks, because they can do that. They can turn a potentially awkward game into all of a sudden a comfortable one with just a moment's genius. Brilliant goal.
Tanganga, who's come on for Højbjerg, is playing in midfield. Very versatile player, Java Tanganga. And how Harry Winks, who's alongside him, plays it forward into the feet of Ndombele. We're in the 90th minute, and probably 5, I would guess, to be added on. Not enough for Brentford. They could put 55 up, and that wouldn't be enough. Here's Aurier flicking it forward, Vinicius turning it round the corner, one back by Jensen, getting it away from Ndombele. They'll be able to turn and just play down towards his left-hand side, and Henry will be able to guide it forward towards halfway. One back by Tanganga, getting there ahead of Ivan Toney, who's just stayed down for a moment. I think got caught on the ankle. He's okay though. And here's Eric Dyer at the back for Spurs, who will play it into the feet of Harry Winks. Spurs, semi-finalists a couple of years ago when they lost to Chelsea, but they're going to get it right this time. Vinicius making his way forward, and Pinnock sweeps up and gets it away, and confirmation of the 5 additional minutes to be played. Sliding challenge, well won in the heart of the midfield by Aurier, who made his way forward and is able to get there. And the time has changed perfection, get it away from Tariq Fosu. And it goes out of play for a throw to Brentford. 2-0 to Tottenham. Sissoko on 12, Son on 70. Will they be playing Manchester United? Will they be playing Manchester City? We'll find out tomorrow night together, with the build-up starting at 7 o'clock here on TalkSport. Ball played inside the penalty area, headed on down towards the left-hand side of the box for Tariq Fosu. Can the 10 men yet set up a frantic finale? It's played back in towards Dalsgaard, who's taking him in an advanced position. Might yet get a shot in. It's cut out for Henry. He's cut across the ball, but send it spiralling over the bar.
Yeah, he just had to run round that there, didn't he? Henry, the left-back, it sort of dropped to him more on his right foot, and so he sort of bent his run inside the Tottenham 18-yard box, left of centre, to try and get that onto his favoured left peg to keep that under the bar, and unfortunately just leans back a little bit and doesn't make the best contact, and it flies over the top.
Yeah, he's only a rare goal scorer, Rico Henry, just a couple in more than 100 games for the Bees.
I've enjoyed his performance, Jim, tonight, the left back. He's an exceptionally good athlete, very, very quick, but also an ambitious boy, wants to get forward, wants to go and join in. I think he's played well for his team. Yeah,
he's undoubtedly Premier League quality. I think that there are, a few sides, certainly bottom half of the Premier League he could play for, without a shadow of a doubt. He's a good player. Here's Kane. Played the ball out towards Ben Davis, who will be able to bring it forward here for Spurs. In stoppage time, Tottenham leading 2-0. Ball's gone back for Eric Dyer into the feet of Harry Winks. It's back for Dyer again. Now to Serge Aurier. Aurier's ball forward into the feet of Sissoko is very quickly played back, and they're just having a little game of 1-2s between the pair of them.
Yeah, just keeping it now, literally just running that clock down. And the Brentford boys have given everything. And they haven't quite got the energy anymore to really go after Spurs, to force the issue. They win a free kick on the halfway line, maybe one last chance to clip it up in and around the edge of the 18-yard box to see if they can force a way back into it.
Jensen taking it, spinning it out to the left flank for Henry, who has a chance to bring it down and now have a run at Aurier, who's making life difficult for him. Henry will be able to get towards the byline. He's been shoved to the ground, and it's a free kick to Brentford as they look for a consolation right at the end of the game. Yeah. It's only a couple of yards from the dead ball line and a similar distance to the left of the penalty area.
Good play again from Henry. One-on-one with Serge Aurier. And he just slows the Tottenham man down and then quickly accelerates towards the byline and draws a foul just outside the box. So
everybody forward with the exception of goalkeeper David Raya. Had it been 2-1, it might have been a different story. Marcondes standing over it. Jensen is there as well. Spurs have got 4, 5, 6, 7 players inside the 6-yard box. It's Marcondes going for goal, and Lloris got his hands behind it. It fell to the ground, and he very quickly pounced to make sure that he got there ahead of Ivan Toney.
He did. It was actually a good strike from Marcondes. You were quite right, Jim. There were so many people in front of Hugo Lloris. He wouldn't have seen a lot of that. When it comes in, he sort of grabs it, parries it, spills it, and then grabs it when it drops to his feet before a Brentford player can apply a finishing touch and prod it over the line.
Here's Harry Kane. Ball played forward by him. David Raya is able to pick it up. Right forward by Raya into the feet of Jensen. Jensen back for Pinnock. Pinnock goes square to his left-hand side for Mads Bech Sorensen, who has had a decent game deputising for Pontus Jansson at centre-half. Long ball played out towards the Brentford right-hand side. He's nodded down for Jensen, who's put under pressure by his opposite number 8, Harry Winks. Now worked into the feet of Marcus Forss for what might have been just about his first touch, and it was a heavy one, and it's fallen Spurs' way, and Kane has got runners either side of him as Spurs look to set the seal with goal number 3, but Kane went alone from the edge of the D and fired it over the bar.
Yeah, he fancied that one, Harry Kane, didn't he, for himself? Ball fired into him, took a touch, turned and ran 20 yards towards the edge of the Brentford 18-yard line and had options either side of him, but took the shot himself, didn't catch it.
Ndombele. Harry Kane. Back for Ndombele again, and now to Winks and to Aurier, and again it's just all about possession. 5 minutes of stoppage time are up. Mike Dean's looked at the watch. Dyer will play it forward and get it back again. Spurs, no need to even venture into Brentford territory anymore. And Jose Mourinho's League Cup love affair continues. Another final secured. An April date with Mancunian opposition lies ahead on a day when Jose himself could make history, as Spurs and he will go for number 5. Brentford tonight unable to make history. Their first major final still lies ahead of them. Their first semi ending in a 2-0 defeat. Spurs with a bright start, scoring with Sissoko, setting the seal on the victory 20 minutes from time when Son scored an absolute rasper for the 150th goal of his career. De Silva's late dismissal meant it was all over bar the shouting. Brentford by no means disgraced, and their ultimate goal now to make sure they're back here next season in the league. But they're not going to Wembley. Spurs are. They've won by 2-0.